regenerative organic farm. So there's a couple terms in there. You hear organic and you hear regenerative. You say, well, what really is that? It sounds good, but what really is that? Organic means it's been chemical free. So our first 90 acres have been chemical free for 30 years, and that's kind of on this north side. And the new property we bought now, it's been 10 years, and it's been toxic free, spray free. But the regenerative part we started about 6 years ago. And so we had organic inputs prior to that, but as far as checking the soil, and regenerative means that you're trying to create the perfect balance of your soil with trace minerals, organic matter, to make it super healthy. So whatever grows in that soil will be healthy. Whatever eats that coming out of the soil will be super healthy. So we have approximately 40 cows, mama cows, that have given birth on this farm, and we're now actually selling some of the offspring for either freezer meat and or part of our CSA, the meat CSA that we'll be talking about. And what we have found out is our vet bills are zero. And I mean, there's over 100 head of cows, and we don't have sick animals. And my horses haven't been wormed with artificial wormer from veterinarians. They tell you every 2 months you're supposed to give them wormer in over 7 years. So they look like this, just on my regenerative grasses, and there's a little free choice supplement they have access to, and so no, they don't have the parasites in their guts due to the minerals that they're given. The same thing with our cows. When you see our cows, they'll have shiny coats. Right now flies are a little bad. We don't have our fly station built yet, and we'll have some organic materials that we'll put in either a dusting bag and or some oils that we'll put into a liquid that they can rub on and get it on their coats. So that is coming. But those are two big terms, and the biggest thing is when we talk about our meat that we noticed as soon as we started fully utilizing our meat is it's nutrient dense. So nutrient dense goes back to the regenerative part. Our soil is balanced with trace minerals, and the meat becomes nutrient dense. I had researched from the USDA about minerals, and basically found out that since 1940, all of the soils in the United States were lacking copper, zinc, sulfur, boron, and now I can't remember what the other one was, but they are all, when you look up which minerals are really important to your immune system, they're the ones. They are the ones that you're supposed to have, and they're supposed to be in all of our meat and produce. They're no longer there because farmers don't put them back unless they tell you that we're a regenerative farm and we put trace minerals back into our soil. So that is something you need to know. If you want to know, let's say basically you come here today and you say, I'll go look for somebody around Columbus. Well, if you look for another person growing meat and they tell you we have grass fed, we have a regenerative farm, saying, well, how do you regenerate your soil? If they can't tell you and they go, well, what do you mean? They don't know what they're talking about. And so you need to question that, but you can't ask if you don't know. And like I said, our meats, we are going to have our meat tested this year, part of the Bionutrient Food Association. We're one of 50 meat producing farms that's been accepted into the study. So sometime here within the next year, we'll have a report back on our soil, our forage, our cow poop, our meat. There's 500 different indicators that they're going to give us results on.
Colonel, you've got a question here.
Yes.
Yeah. So as far as with your cows, then do you use the milk? Do you milk your cows, and do you?
We don't milk our cows yet. We will eventually have a couple cows to do a milk share on that. Currently ours are beef cows, so they obviously they produce milk for their babies, but we don't milk them.
Okay. So the milk, the cow milk, is still something. I'm wondering if the way you feed them and everything, does that make a difference with their milk?
It definitely would. It definitely will. Yep. And there are.
On top of that, when you are able to get unpasteurized milk, that's an added benefit. Yes.
The pasteurization process, if you start looking it up, it kills everything in that milk. So when they say drink a lot of milk, it's vitamin D fortified, it's an artificial vitamin D. Your body can't hardly use any of that. And so you're basically almost drinking a dead substance. There's no life to that.
Unpasteurized milk, how long would that last? So,
Well, when we go get our milk from a neighbor, we get a couple weeks
so it
up in
lasts
the
a couple
refrigerator.
weeks.
Yeah,
Look, it's good.
it didn't taste sweet. It almost has a vanilla taste to it. It's awesome.
Seriously, you warm a cup of milk, this milk up before you go to bed at night, and oh my gosh, it's so sweet. You would have thought you put honey in
Yep.
No, don't do that.
So what we're going to do now, I'm going to take the horse trip with you. We'll go past some hay fields. I'll talk about the forage a little bit. Then we'll get to the cow, show you the cow herd. I'll talk to you about some of the free choice things that they'll have access to all the time. Then you'll see all these bales that look like marshmallows. And that's our high moisture content haylage. And so basically we cut the grass and bale it up right away and wrap it in plastic, and it ferments, kind of like sauerkraut. That's what our cows get to eat all winter long.
Hold on.
Yep. All right, so
Is this possible?
chickens run free every day. Our goal is, I have a wagon up there ready to go, is that our chickens will follow the cattle 3 days after the cattle graze. Our cows get fresh grass every day. They move to a new lot every day. And so the chickens will follow 3 days later, and that's important because flies will lay their eggs in the manure, and at the end of 3 days you start having a pupa, the fly pupa, and the chickens will scratch that open and eat those fly pupa, reducing your fly population, which we're hoping to have in operation for next year. So our eggs are also, we're told by numerous people who buy eggs from other people, one is we don't feed any GMO grains, because all GMO grains could contain glyphosate, because the crops that they spray the Roundup on absorb that glyphosate, and it's been proven fact that it is in our food supply. As a matter of fact, the CDC just put out a report that over 80% of all Americans have glyphosate in their system. Over 80% of the people, and it comes from our food supply. And so our eggs are super rich, and again, all the folks who buy from us just love our eggs. Even some people who weren't egg lovers love our egg. Yep, we don't know what that dog's name is. You see the alpaca over there?
So alpaca?
Juice. See the alpaca?
That's Lyle and Larry. Instead of all these trees and weeds.
Look, Daddy. Look at the white thing. It's so cute.
That's an alpaca. Can you say alpaca?
Alpaca.
Yeah, that's what that is.
So obviously we're lucky enough that we have trees along each side of the field, so they get either from the east or the west the shade. But back to the regenerative farm. I visited 2 other farms down in southern Ohio that claim to be a regenerative, organic, and grass-fed beef. Well, they're not lying, but they're not telling the whole truth. The intensive grazing part being on fresh grass. And if those cattle had to be on the same spot for a whole week, they're exposed to more flies, more parasites, more everything. So us moving them every day, the sun automatically, when the sun hits that ground, due to the infrared light of the sunshine, it sterilizes the ground. When they're on there for a week, you're giving exposure to those animals. So back to, you think that you're getting the same product, but you're really not. If you don't ask the question, do you rotate your cows every day? It's important that they're on that fresh, nutrient-dense grass every day, because a cow will eat the most nutrient-dense portion first. And I can cite you an example, what we did the very first year we got into this. There's a product we could purchase to remineralize the soil. So we didn't have enough to do the whole field. So I told my son, I said, according to the book, if we spray this on this half of the field, those cows will come in, they'll rotate around the field, and they'll come back to this section where we spray before they eat any of that other grass. So we did that. When it was time to turn the cows loose, we turned them loose. Sure enough, they made a trip around the outside of the field, came back to the regenerated part and ate that grass down before they went and ate the grass that wasn't regenerated. Animals have an intuitive sense of what's really good for them. Yep, and they do. So that's why it's so important when I stressed you that they rotate every day. Our cows only eat the very best every day. So, wild turkeys, and we have lots of deer. So, even though we're running a business off of this, I don't think we would ever want to have an ecosystem that wouldn't have Mother Nature involved. So we're really heavy into that. Is make sure we have lots of wildlife. Or we have ospreys flying over our ponds and diving in and getting fish. We have eagles flying over top. It's really cool being out here and seeing all the different wildlife that's coming back. And here's my son bringing a load of the bales home. We have about, I think, maybe 20 or 30 left to bring yet from this other farm that we're making the haylage from.
So we need how many bales of that for the cattle that we've got?
So we figure on 180 days of winter time, and with our herd size, we need 6 bales a day. So that is basically 1,080 is that we have to have, and currently we're about 650 that we have. Yep. Larry, wow. Yep. Come on. Come on. Easy. 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 Yeah, so when we're done here, getting all these over here this year so far, we're right at 650 bales sitting here. Or got rain on it. Oh, that's cattle hay. Oh, that's cattle hay. Well, if you give them bad nutrition, they won't gain weight off of that either. But no, what they're saying is, oh, you can feed it to cattle, you won't lose it all. But no, then they expect people, or they expect the animals to gain weight. It's not possible to do that. So when we switched to this, doing the haylage, we noticed that now this last year was the first full year we got into it. They kept their weight on way better than feeding dry hay, because dry hay a lot of times, due to rain, because you have 3 dry days to make good dry hay, that you'll make old hay, which means it's lost its nutritional value by quite a bit, up to 50%. So even though you're feeding, they're not getting everything, they're losing weight. And with us doing it in this high moisture, they keep on weight way better.
You open up those bales, it smells like it's good to eat.
Yep.
That's just like,
Smells like we want to eat it, huh?
Yep, it does. It does.
it's like when you grow old.
Larry, Lyle. Yep.
Every time I go out.
All the trace minerals are in balance. Trace minerals function like a wheel. Your car wheel has to be balanced, otherwise it whop, 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 whop. Well, that's kind of what's happening to us, and things are out of balance. We're up and down, up and down, up and down, and then what they've taught us is, oh, you're deficient in this thing, here, take this. What they don't tell you is if you take too much of that one trace minerals, throws you out of balance with other trace minerals and causes an issue the other way around. And you have to get them in balance. So the most perfect thing is we use ionic sea minerals. Back to what you put in your water, we use ionic sea minerals, but occasionally we will just use boron water, especially when we think we've been exposed to high frequency, other frequencies, the 5G stuff. In our electric car that we rented for a week, we both got sick. Sick.
So you're talking about
Yep.
like 5G,
5G, yep.
Doing everything
From the
for you.
cell
I
phone.
had to rent a car.
And so now what they're doing, all the power companies have digital meters, and they do automatic reading. So they're sending these big frequency waves out to read those meters, and you're being bombarded without knowing that.
But are you saying like the use of cell phones too?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And so we have a very good friend who developed some nanotechnology. And I listened to her, and I was researching frequency in the soil, and if everything is balanced with the proper frequency, you get more production, more growth. And I said, well, it's definitely missing. It's not balanced anymore, so I know those frequencies aren't there anymore. So she has some technology that we have in our ponds, and we're basically allowing the water content, since we're 70-80% water also, allowing the water in the soil in the pond over here and our pond over there to talk to each other. And through some of her testing, we feel that our soil is definitely benefiting from her nanotechnology.
Because you don't really have the satellite cells out in this.
Well, satellites are everywhere.
What's up here?
They're within a mile of our house, like 5 towers are.
So you're able to get
Yep.
good connection.
Yep.
Yeah. You can't
Is
be
there one
further
up
away
here?
from that anywhere if you've got cell service.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So do you use computers and things like that?
And we do, and we also use her technology to basically mitigate the negative
She makes
frequency.
these things she
Open
calls
the cap.
flat batteries.
Please drink it.
This is
Oh,
a
make
nano
us
that
worse.
put in your cell phone.
Wanna be worse, sir?
Yep.
I think
Hey,
back with this phone, I have a thing on it and it stops.
hey,
So no, it's very important that people get educated. And my biggest dream is when we get our meat business going, eventually I want to make sure we want to build a round barn in that very first field, and I want to get a hold of the little ones and teach them about healing the earth with what's being done to change our leadership.
That's the way.
You know, you got to get it ingrained in little ones first, and have the love for the soil before they get taught about all the chemicals that are supposed to be good for you and all this other stuff. No, we know companies lie. Monsanto's lied for years. Now that's come out. Cigarette people lied for years. No, that it finally came out. So they're always allowed to lie before they ever fess up. And in the meantime, they've hurt a whole bunch of people.
All they want to do is make money,
Yep.
and they don't care about
Our gut feeds the rest of the body. And so no, we found all that out, started changing our diet, stopped buying junk at the grocery store. Definitely no artificial sweeteners that are toxic. Went to all natural sweetening, honey, maple syrup. If we have to use sugar, it's cane sugar. It's not the processed white sugar. Sea salt instead of processed white salt. And things start turning around. All of a sudden, where the doctors were telling her, well, we've got x-rays, you have arthritis so bad, all of a sudden it all disappeared for her. All the symptoms, I played 3 sports for 11 years, from high school through college into professional some. And all my aches and pains that I attributed to, oh yeah, that's this football injury, oh yeah, this is where a guy tore off my arm in wrestling, and all these things disappeared. So back to, we were healing our bodies through our food supply. And then we started talking about, well, it all comes from the soil. We started checking out into our soils and regenerating soils. And the more we do, the better it gets. The big one was, if you ever get into wheatgrass juice, it's a little bit more time consuming if you do that for yourself. But 1 ounce of wheatgrass juice is the equivalent to 2.5 pounds of produce. So wheatgrass juice in the right medium, where it's
I'm growing it right now, and I'm not doing a good job of using it.
harvesting. Right. But
The growing has been easy.
we did it for about a solid month, and our body transformation was unbelievable. Yeah, did you do it twice a day? Did you juice it twice a day?
No, once a day.
Okay, we went to morning and evening, and I'm telling you, eyesight changed. My mom's health, she's 88, her health changed. Oh yeah, it is powerful. It is powerful. So back to, which goes right back, me making sure that our soils are balanced will produce something really healthy. I mean, we saw what wheatgrass did for us. The cows get to eat on that every day. Yep.
Let's eat it.
Fields. There's, let's see.
We're going to show it to Miss Carol.
So I've got enough for 1 dozen. I don't know if there's going to be anybody else. So I'm going to go check and see if I'm.
Can you do that? them separately?
Yes. Yeah, the
Really?
layer. Yeah, because they just eat and drink water. And
They're
poop.
special. Yeah,
Yeah.
so they don't go out with the
No,
others?
we'll You have to stay really cold. We're just looking, eh?
Do you want to go see them?
He's very excited about it.
I know.
Now they're not named Sparkle. They have their own names.
This is Lyle and Larry.
Yep.
Let's see, this is Lyle here.
So that's Lyle.
Do you want to touch it here? You pick you up and you can touch his nose. Oh, you want to touch it? Look, Juju's touching. You want to touch? Can Mama touch? Look, can I touch? Okay.
Okay, Tank the Nurse here. We're at the Finch farm and the weather is beautiful. It's not that beautiful in Columbus, Ohio, but it is beautiful here. So here's a quick preview. So we came down for the class and a lot less than what we thought. We're just going to give you just a pretty quick overview of what happens when you come down to hear about the farm.
A lady, her name was Charles, and she used to have go-to.
If you put it together and it works, you did it the right way.
Look, she's pretty. You want to watch her? No, it's not going to do. We're seeing scary things on the side.
I've never had anybody
They have big feet, don't they?
I've never had honey. That is amazing.
Their feet are hooks.
Georgia.
Oh, yeah. They have hooks. I have my retain, but I would say yes. I would, but I haven't been